my voice last the whole time. Whoops. Sorry, I forgot to check my volume because I always forget to check my volume. Hi, my name is Courtney, and I'm very passionate about helping women with invisible illnesses realize that you can still lead a pretty healthy and active lifestyle. It's just not going to be the one you had envisioned for yourself, but the time is going to pass regardless, and you've got to make the best of your situation. So, people ask me often, why do you do that? And I really appreciate the people who ask because they respect. This is hard. This is hard to get on here and put my vulnerabilities out for the world to see because, as we all know, the internet can be a freaking horribly ugly, nasty place. But you know what? It can also be a really beautiful and amazing place. It's kind of up to you what you make of it. But you have to forgive me. I did not broadcast Wednesday. I got the Rona again. It's my second go around, and since I already have fibromyalgia and Hashimoto's and severe adrenal problems, it just kicks my ass. But what do you do? It is what it is. Anyway, I never mind being asked why I do it, but I always really appreciate when someone acknowledges how hard it is to put yourself out there in such a vulnerable way. But you know what? I do these mostly for myself, to be honest. I talk through issues that I'm dealing with, and sometimes I'll get really good feedback. Um, I had a channel on Periscope. Is a channel the right word? Anyway, on Periscope, which is now defunct. And I had a really good audience there, and we'd get really lively conversations going. It was so much fun. And I would often get comments from people that would make me see my situation or a problem I was struggling with from a different light. That's invaluable. But mostly I do these because I remember what it was like when I was first diagnosed with fibromyalgia, back when it was just one just one serious health issue, and how scared I was. And I was looking and looking and looking online, like, okay, there's got to be someone out there who can help me. And I found a ton of support groups. But you know what I found? This is not a dig on any of those people. Because I understand the mentality, because I lived there for a long time. But all these support groups that I found, I'm not saying they're all like that. All the ones I found, it was a race to the bottom, and they would literally have competitions. I mean, it wasn't a formal competition, but my life sucks the worst. No, it doesn't. My life sucks more. And I'm sitting there going, well, all y'all suck because you choose to see it that way. So I put myself out there in these videos because I want other people who are in that position to know that, okay, yeah, you kind of got a crappy hand dealt to you, but you can still lead a happy life. All things considered, I'm a really happy person. Even with the corona, I'm a pretty happy person. But I remember how I felt. I was 100 pounds overweight. I was a heavy smoker. I was such a junk foodaholic. This is so insane. I used to have sugar cravings pull me out of a deep sleep. That was back when I could actually sleep. But I'd have sugar cravings yank me out of a deep sleep. There's obviously something really, really wrong if you're living like that. I hated myself. I hated the way I looked. I couldn't seem to get my shit together. You know what I really hated? I hated women who were fit and ate healthy and did all the right things, because, well, damn it, you should be fat too. I know it's ridiculous, but that's where I was. I never in my life really felt like I fit. It's so funny. I was having a conversation with someone several years ago talking about never fitting in. And I finally asked her, well, don't you think to a certain degree that that's kind of the human experience? Because most people that I know, I'm not saying everybody, but most people that I know have felt like that at least one point in their life. Then I was introduced to chronic illness. Boy, I thought things were bad before. I was shopping for a cane before I was 40 years old. I used to take 9 different prescriptions a day. I used to pop Vicodin like they were Pez candy. I was so unfit and so unhealthy. I could barely do 10 minutes a day on a Wii Fit. That is a child's toy. That is horrifyingly unhealthy. And all my coworkers were telling me, you need to file for disability. And I finally looked at one of my friends and I started to cry. And I said, well, then what? I just sit home and wait to die? And that's when I realized I better pull my head out, get my shit together and figure out how to deal with this. Because it wasn't going to go away. You know, the chronic part of chronic illness kind of means it's going to be there a while. Somehow, in the midst of all this, and I was so severely depressed, y'all. But somehow in the midst of all that, I found, this is so crazy. I don't know how it happened. I can't explain it, but I found a workout that I freaking loved. It's called Turbo Kick. Actually, it was Turbo Jam because that's the home version. And I fell in love with everything about it. I loved the creator. I loved just everything. And I remember it was Chalene Johnson created it. And I remember I used to sit there and just have this mix of hero worship and envious bitchiness, to be real blunt, because she was everything I wasn't. She was fit. She was happy. She was healthy. And I was in such a place that I didn't look at that and say, hey, there's a good inspiration. I looked at that and I was like, you bitch. Isn't that terrible? But that's where I was. And at that point in my life, I would have never set foot in a gym. I'll be real honest. I still have very little interest in going to a gym. But, and this, I know this is going to sound cheesy, but I made all the people in the videos. She had the same people in a lot of the videos. So I kind of got to know them. And I truly, I know this is so silly, but I didn't have any social life at all at that point. I don't have much of one now, but it was even worse then. And I would pretend that I was working out with them, and that's what would drive me. And I found out that Chalene used to do, well, she still does, they're just a little bit different focus now. But anyway, she used to do these personal development / fitness camps. And I would see these women talk about, oh my gosh, my whole life changed in one weekend. And the person that I was at that time, I would sit back and be like, quit kissing her ass. It was 2 days out of your life. Get over yourself. Well, then I went to one of her camps, and you know what? In 2 days, Chalene helped me change my life. She really specifically the moment. I don't remember the time of day. I don't remember what day it was, but I was sitting in a lecture. I didn't want to go to any of the lectures. I just went down. Crazy. I know I'm connected to my Wi-Fi. I need to know if my dang Wi-Fi is connected to the internet. It doesn't always tell me that. But anyway, I remember sitting in this lecture that I didn't want to go to. And she was talking about low self-esteem. And she said something that at first infuriated me. She said, low self-esteem is selfish. And I remember thinking, the hell do you know about, look at you. You're beautiful. You're successful. What do you know about low self-esteem? But then she went on to explain her perspective, and I seriously just, my world tilted a little bit, and it did change my perspective, because she was right. When we have low self-esteem, we make everything about us. What are they saying about us? What are they thinking about us? You know what? To borrow Chalene's phrase, who gives a shit? What difference does it make what other people think about us? It shouldn't. Their opinions only matter if we choose to allow them to. Well, fast forward a few years, I actually went on to teach the gym version, which is Turbo Kick. I went on to teach that for a year or two at the university here, and I loved it. I really did. But my health got worse, and I had to give it up. I was devastated. In fact, I remember sitting there and the doctor's going over my test results, and I'm crying because it was like really, really bad news. And I'm crying, and he says, "No more cardio kickboxing." I was like, "What? What the hell am I supposed to do?" He said, "I don't know, but no more cardio kickboxing." And I tried to argue with him, and he said, "Look, with your adrenals being in the condition that they are, those workouts deplete you more than you're capable of recovering from. So obviously, I had to readjust. I didn't have any choice." But I was really fortunate because I found another form of exercise that I'm just as passionate about, that I love just as much, that can make my heart happy even on the darkest days. I am so freaking fortunate. You know how blessed I am? I've got 2 soulmate workouts in my life. A lot of people never find one. I have 2. You know how freaking lucky that is? But that's where I came from. That's the background of this. But now I discovered, much to my amazement, of all places for me to feel accepted, I was accepted into the fitness world. I still chunky. Hell, I'm still chunky today because I don't do very well with my nutrition and I have a lot of health issues. But I went back to Shalene's camps for I don't know how many years, until she sold her business. I went back to her fitness / personal development camps every year. And nobody but me cared about my weight. And those camps were my first real introduction to personal development work. And I slowly, very, very slowly started to embrace the growth and the change. And now I seek it out. And the more time I spend, what? The more my confidence grows, the more I like myself, the more I like everybody else. Now, I'm not where I want to be in my life, but you know what? I know I can get there. I didn't know that several years ago. And I do these videos because I get a lot of feedback from people who have health issues. And they tell me that I've helped them. "Hey, when you said this, it really resonated with me and it meant a lot to me. Thank you." That's why I put my when I can use all this crap that I go through to help somebody else, it gives it a purpose. It's not just meaningless suffering. And I got a comment on Twitter several years ago that I just loved. "I do look forward to your activity on Twitter. I always feel light and positive from your tweets. That's quite an accomplishment in the chronic pain world. And I hope to learn from your experience." Is that not freaking beautiful? Isn't that amazing? That's why I do these videos. That's why I put myself out there and make myself vulnerable. And yes, I do open the door to people that say crappy things, but that's on them. When I had my Periscope channel, and I used to have this one guy that would, I don't know how many times I blocked him, and he'd just make another ID and come back. And he'd always say the same thing to me. And at first it upset me because he'd come on and he'd ask me questions and get me to engage with him. And then he'd say, "Well, I don't know why anybody would take advice from you. You look like you're mentally ill," which, oh, okay. So I finally started telling him, and yet here you are. Again, I don't mind people like that. I'm not going to let somebody like that prevent me from reaching out to the person who's where I was all those years ago, who just desperately needs someone to tell her, "You know what? You're going to be okay." Because you are going to be okay. Easy? No. But you know what? Healthy people don't have easy lives either. So I'm not telling you that you don't have cause to feel sorry for yourself. You do. And you're entitled to have a pity party here and there. But you can't live there. You've got to find a way. You've got to find coping mechanisms. You got to find a way to make yourself as happy as you can be. Because your circumstance, your chronic illness is unlikely to change much. So you better figure out how to fix your attitude. Anyway, that's all I have. I feel horrible. I feel absolutely horrible. I was telling someone earlier, it's the COVID. Both times I've had COVID, the body aches were my worst symptoms. And fibromyalgia already has body aches. Hashimoto's has very similar symptoms to fibromyalgia. So I've got a triple threat of body aches going on, and son of a biscuit, my body is not happy. So I'm going to go, and I think I'm actually going to get on some ice because my poor neck is just a knotted up mess because I've been laying around for 3 days, which, by the way, is not good for, that's not good for your body. Our bodies are not meant to be sedentary. And if you ever doubt that, think about how crappy you felt the last time you had to spend a few days in bed when you were sick and how much your body hurts afterwards. Anyway, I'm rambling. Y'all have a great night. I will be back Monday.